All right. So do we start with so let's, get to know a few people on the call. If anyone here could just unmute your microphone and just tell us something interesting about yourself, a burning marketing challenge that you're hoping to get some answers from on this call, or whatever. We just want to, hear from some people on this call. We don't want it to be a rigid session. We want the engagement. At the end of the day, we're all here to help each other. Faith is amazing. I met her at the last session. We've also got our leader, Liz, who's a business coach. We've got so many wonderful people here doing amazing things in various sectors. So let's hear from one or two people. We don't want to pick on anyone, so please just unmute your screen, unmute your microphone rather. Hello.
See a hand. Oh no. Okay. Did somebody speak?
I will contribute by saying that I'm coming from a background that had a lot of stereotypes regarding business. Um, I must say that I was born in church, so I've always been around people who considered business people to be shifty, to be crafty, and to be, just not people who you will want to interact or, um, have it much to do with. That was the background I had growing up as a child. But then I have come into Christ, I've come into the gospel, and I now see that it's a lot different. So the perception is shifting and changing for me. And that is why I'm here to learn because when I hear marketing, I just consider, oh, no, I'm not a marketer and I really have nothing to do with that. It's meant for some set of people. But then I'm doing business now and I know that it is very important and it's pivotal to my increase and growth. So that is why I'm here.
Awesome. Well said.
Amazing.
I think Ife has her hand. You can unmute, Ife.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So for me, I moved into the UK last year, and of course it's a new terrain. I've been run business in Nigeria for about 10 years. And so trying to understand the system around here, the marketing, the structures and things to put in place. It's been, trying to read a lot of things. And then after you read, a lot of people will tell you so many things. And then you are confused, unconfused, reconfused. And so being here, it's just like, okay, I need to learn. And I'm so glad that we've been having the sessions we've been having so far. So I'm looking forward to really learning and, understanding how it works in this terrain. Thank you.
Thanks, Ife. Sorry, if you don't mind me asking, what business are you looking into or have you started or?
Okay, well, back in Nigeria, it's actually still running there. It's a bridal business.
Okay.
Done, yes. So even though, yeah, I've gotten a couple of leads around here, but I know that it's not about the trickles, it's the real money. So
Amazing. Thank you. Anyone else wants to go? Faith, I'll just hand over to you because we could go on.
Yes. We're not going to take too much time because Miss Obehi here has a lot in store for us. But I just want to encourage everyone to please network. I've made a lot of friends on this platform. I met Bumi here. I met Shemu. Unfortunately, Shemu, I think he's gonna jump in at some point. But I've met some really nice people. I met Tolu. I've meeting Liz, and just try to reach out to people and connect. And if you have questions, feel free to leave it on the chat box. Just be free. Essentially, we're trying to make this session as interactive as possible. So having said that, I'm going to read Ms. Obehi's bio. Is very short, so it's not going to take too long. She's an award-winning marketing expert with over a decade of experience growing million-dollar brands like Lysol, Clearasil, and Flonase. So we're in good hands. She's a lover of Christ and all things sci-fi. She's a kick-ass mom of two who excels at getting clarity from chaos while building strategies that gets results. Coming from a culture entrenched in entrepreneurship, she's seen firsthand how business owners struggle to identify the right actions that drive growth. That's why she created Aurora Eya, a brand marketing firm that equips entrepreneurs with the practical brand and marketing knowledge they need to unlock the full potential of their brands. Using coaching and digital toolkits, she's on a mission to help them successfully build long-term powerhouse brands by giving access to the same strategic thinking Fortune 500 brands use to drive millions in growth. So please join me in giving Ms. Obehi here a very warm welcome. She's very busy. It's very hard to reach her. So thank you so much for, always honoring our invitations. And I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic time listening to her. Thank you. The floor is yours, Obehi.
Faith, you're making me laugh. It's hard to reach me, but because of my kids, not because and work. But no. Thank you for that. And I'm actually super excited to be here. As Faith sort of described, and I don't know if anybody feels the same, but whenever you hear people talk about yourself, it always is a very weird sensation to hear people sort of read what you've done. But it's always gratifying to sort of look back on some of the things that sort of have been done. So thanks for the intro, Faith. So yes, I'm excited here to talk about marketing. I could talk about marketing all day. I live, breathe, sleep, eat marketing. When Samuel was talking about, he's not a marketer, I understand that. I have friends who we think differently because of how we've been trained. But, as every business owner knows, it is critical for your growth. You are marketing and you don't realize it, whether you are intentionally doing it or not. So it's better to be intentional and then get the results that you want. So anyway, let me share my screen. I have quite a number of things I want to take you guys through today. Hold on, let me share. And then I will start. Okay, perfect. Let me know once you guys can see this. Yeah, okay.
Yep, can see it.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, cool. So, Faye talked about, and during what's been shared previously, what I wanted to talk through today specifically is how to help people pick marketing tactics for your brand, right? So that you can sell more products. But then you want to make sure that the tactics you're picking are actually going to work. So that's really going to be the focus of today. It's going to be super practical. That's my intention. And quite a bit of things I want you guys to think about as we go through. But before I start, I always like to give a bit of background on myself. I know Faith shared a little bit, but I think I've come across, especially in the wild west of social media, everybody and their mother is an expert. Everybody sort of has a point of view on what to do and how to do it. And so many times before I start listening to advice, I like to understand, like, where are you getting your knowledge from? Help me understand sort of what's informing it. Is it experience you've had, or is it something that you've learned? So I like to talk a little bit about where my experience is coming from, and it gives people just a bit of confidence and in the credibility of what I'm telling you. So like Faith said, I've been in marketing for a while now. It's been 12 years to give or take. And I've had the privilege of working on some really awesome brands for some of the largest consumer packaged good companies in the world. And it's cut across so many different categories, whether it's personal care, surface care, health and wellness. And I'm still doing that today. I'm the global marketing director for Mucinex. If you're in the US, we're entering cold and flu season. This is the time where people start getting sick. One of the products I help run actually is servicing that, and that's what I do my 9 to 5. And many of these brands, generate hundreds of millions in revenue, right? And they're quite big. But the intention is when you come on them, your goal is to continue to drive that growth. Every year there's a target to increase it. How do you do that, right? And so what I do essentially is create lots of marketing campaigns. I've done a ton of product launches over that time frame, and really just to help continue to drive the growth of these brands. So I always say it's a lot of hard work. You put in the time and the effort, but it's a lot of fun. I've always found marketing fascinating, and really getting to see and learn how these big corporations run these huge brands has really solidified my love for marketing, right? The brands aren't successful by accident. There's a ton of strategic thinking that goes into how they understand what their consumers want, what they need, how they develop the right products that answer those needs, and then how they come up with what the right messages are to communicate to these consumers to actually get them to purchase these products, right? Through which channels. There's a lot of thought and thinking that goes into it. So now, seeing the corporate end of the spectrum, I have also got to see the entrepreneur side, because as a Nigerian, I have family members that are entrepreneurs, tons of them. Lots of people in my family are entrepreneurs. And I've seen really that the two approaches are very different. Very quickly, I saw some big gaps in how entrepreneurs approached businesses, especially when it came to really understanding their consumers and the strategic planning for their marketing. And that's, why I launched Aurora. I was the reason I created it. I really wanted to give people the access to the same sort of strategic expertise that most people can't afford to hire a brand manager to run their businesses. And so that's what I'm doing with what I have with Aurora. And it's a combination of different things. I offer coaching. I have digital toolkits as part of that coaching. I have a signature group coaching program, or I do sort of one-on-one coaching done with you retainers. And I also post a lot of useful content on social, right? So I'm really looking for ways to help people think differently when they are thinking about their brands, think differently when they're thinking about their products. And so my goal is to help people, especially those who sell physical things, understand how to do that. So I post a lot of that on my social. So please feel free to follow me there. And so, I get the opportunity with Aurora to fulfill a lifelong dream of helping entrepreneurs. And so I'm quite excited about that. I'm going to dive into our stuff now. But before I do that, let me just ask, if you have any questions as we're going through, please just put them in the chat, jot them down so that I can address them. I'll get back to them at the end. But if as I'm going through and you're seeing things that you're not clear on, please just drop questions and I'll make sure I follow up on them. I'll be talking about quite a bit, and through each of the things I have some exercises I want you guys to do. So, if you have a pen, paper, or something, take it down just so that you can take some notes, and then you can sort of follow up on the actions I'll be asking you to do. Because what I want to have people leave here with is they're living here with a plan of action to go and make some changes in how they're thinking about their businesses, and not just like, interesting information that isn't necessary to help them make any differences. So we're talking about marketing tactics. And so to start, I wanted to share a video of a marketing campaign that I ran a couple of years ago. Now, when I'm sharing this, I want you to think through a couple of things. Tell me if you notice how many marketing tactics were used when they're describing it. So just listen, and then just, do a rough math in your head, how many marketing tactics you think were used in that campaign. So let me pull up the video, and then you guys tell me if you can hear it. Hold on.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. back to victory lane in Michigan. He's spent his life taking turns at 160 miles an hour. But the thing that scares NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt Jr. the most? Smoking. As a former smoker, Dale Jr. knows what it means to be addicted to cigarettes. And he's seen firsthand the toll smoking can take on friends and family. So when Nicorette launched their new Coated Ice Mint Lozenge, we asked Dale Jr. to help us get the word out and make a real difference in people's lives. Why? Well, some nicotine lozenges can leave a bad taste in people's mouths, literally. But Nicorette's new lozenge has a special mint coating that actually tastes good. So how did we get aspiring quitters to try it? By taking them on a taste test drive with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
What's this all about? We're going on a test drive. Actually, it's a taste test drive.
The Taste Test Drive was a fully integrated campaign built around Dale Jr.'s mission to help others quit smoking. Dale Jr. pushed out content across social media, including to his 2.5 million followers on Twitter. It all generated massive national media coverage.
I'm really excited to be able to teach them about this new product, a Coated Ice Mint Lozenge that we have, and I want to take them on a taste test drive, if you will, and try to help everybody on their quit journey.
And led to Nicorette getting mentioned in some pretty unexpected places. And the results? Well, let's just say they left the competition in the dust. We even made YouTube's top 10 ads nationwide. The results were impressive. But the real winners? All the smokers across the country who now have a better chance to quit. Thanks to Dale Jr. and the new Coated Ice Mint Lozenge from Nicorette.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's get back to the presentation. But can anyone post in the chat, like, how many tactics did you notice were used in that campaign? Just like popping in the chat. Let me see what's coming through. How many did you notice were used? I'm not seeing the chat. Did I lose it? Oh, here we go. Okay, so 8, use an influence. Okay, cool. All right. So yes, there's a couple. In actuality, I think what the summary was showing, that was like a summary we submitted after we completed the campaign and saw the results. There were about 6 or so tactics used in that summary. So we had an influencer / celebrity partnership that we had with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was our spokesperson. We used ads on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. We also had organic content from Dale. He posted on his social channels as well. And then we had PR. It was a big part of the campaign as well. We had media interviews, placements that we worked with agencies to create. But in reality, we actually had more like 10, because we also did TV ads, we did Spotify ads, we had retailer promotions and print promotions. So, we had quite a robust bunch of tactics that we used for the overall campaign. Now, all of these things helped make the campaign a success, right? And the lesson here is not to say you need to do 10 tactics, right? I'm not saying go ahead and do 10 tactics. What I'm trying to show was that when you pick the right tactics, you have the best opportunity for making your marketing campaigns successful. And why is that important, right? That's important because there are so many tactics you could use. Like, there's just so many options of things. And this is not even an exhaustive list. There's just tons of things you could possibly do. And we all have finite resources, right? Even with, $1 million brands, we don't have infinite amounts of resources. We have finite amounts, and we want to pick the best ones that will give us the best chance for success. And if you don't pick the right ones, right, what ends up happening is sort of like, you're throwing spaghetti on the wall. That's kind of what you're doing. You're hoping something sticks. You're doing a bunch of different things, but that's really the quickest way to waste money and resources, right? And obviously, as any business owner knows, we can't afford to do that. So that's why it's so critical that you understand how to pick the right tactics and ensure that the ones you've picked actually set up for success. So here's my guide to picking tactics that work. There's 4 key things I want you to think about. You have to be super clear on what your marketing strategy is. You have to really understand your consumers, and you have to work with your budget, right? The final piece is building tactic funnels. These are the 4 key things that really helps you pick tactics and ensure that they get results. Now, I'll go through each one obviously in detail, and I'll have a homework assignment for you for each one that I want you to start thinking about as you go through, and then start to use this to help you pick what marketing tactics you want to use to support your brand, whether it's launching it, whether it's consistent marketing, whatever it is. And all these things apply, whether it's a service brand, it's a product brand. Marketing principles tend to be the same. The approaches might be slightly different, but the principles tend to hold. So these are the 4. This is sort of what my guides to picking the right marketing tactics. So let's start with the first one, right? You need a strategy. And I know, strategy is kind of a buzzword. People use it all the time. But ultimately, what you're thinking about is, what is the behavior that you want to get your target audience to make? Now, I know, of course, we want our audience to buy. We get it, right? We want them to buy your products. But what does that mean exactly, right? Are they currently using other products for what your product does? So are you trying to get them to switch from competitor brands to yours? Are people already sort of buying your products, and you're trying to get people who already buy you to buy more of your products? Are people already buying you, and maybe you want to get them to buy something that's more expensive? Maybe you offer a suite of products and you want to shift them to a higher price point. There's so many different layers to what it means to say, I want a consumer to buy my product. So I want you to be very clear. What's the behavior that you want your customers to make? Because that's what's going to inform the strategy that you come up with and your messaging. So for example, if you want people to switch from competitor brands to yours, right? And you're a new brand, and that's where most people are, right? Most small brands are super new. People are using other things for what they're offering their products to do, what their products will be doing. And so they're trying to get people to switch from competitor brands to yours. When that's the situation, your strategy is all about driving awareness, right? You're trying to get these people to know that your brand exists, and you want to get them for them to even consider switching from the brands they're using, right? And so that's what you're doing. So your messaging really in that case is solely focused on getting them to switch from competitors' brands to yours, right? You're focusing really on what makes your brand the better choice than the competitor. Why is it better? Is it better quality? Is it better features? Does it solve their problem in a way that's more suited to what they're looking for? How exactly is this better than what they are using today? That's where your messaging will focus, right? Your strategy is all about driving awareness, right? So that they know that your brand exists and it's an option for it to solve the problem that they have. But your messaging is now going to really focus on why is my product better than what you're currently using, right? So this is why, in the session we were in last week, you had some of the speakers talking about unique selling proposition. It's so important to understand that what is it that your brand offers that makes it different from options that are out there? Why should the consumer care that this is going to help solve the problem that they have? So it's very useful to sort of understand that, because you want to make sure that your proposition is clear, and that's going to help inform the sort of message that you come up with. Now, you can have up to 4 strategies on your brand. It really just depends on your business goals, right? It's not like you can say, I'm only trying to drive awareness, or I'm only trying to get people to switch from competitor brands, right? You can be a brand that wants to get new customers by getting people to switch from competitor brands, but that you can also, within that same brand, want to upsell consumers within these product suites that you have. That's fine. But what ends up happening is that for your different strategies, you usually will have different tactics for each of them. So you see, once you understand the behavior you want, which informs your strategy, then you're clear on which tactics then I'm trying to do to help execute each of the strategies I've picked. So your first homework is really starting with understanding the behavior that you want your target audience to make. Be very clear on what that is. Use that to come up with what exactly is my strategy. Am I focused on driving awareness? Am I focused on getting existing customers to buy more? Am I trying to incentivize them to do something different? Be very clear on what that is. And then once you have that, we can then start to think about, okay, what are the marketing tactics I need to now do to help me really execute this strategy? So the first point, be very clear on what your marketing strategy is. And if you have questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'll address them. But I really want to start here because it's sort of the groundwork for what comes up with how you come up with your tactics. All right. So now the second thing, really understanding your consumers, right? And I feel like everybody and their mother talks about this. It's like, you need to know your consumers, you need to understand them. And there's a ton to understand about them, right? You need to understand a lot of demographic information, age, where they live, gender, all these things. But there's also lots of other things to understand. That's like their psychographics, right? Why are they trying to solve the problem? What's the benefits they're after? What are the things that matter to them? What are their pain points? All of that. Those are all important. But when you want to use that to inform which marketing tactics you're going to choose, there's 2 key things that you need to know about your consumers. And that's what I'll focus on now. So the first one is what I call a day in the life. And this is really just you trying to understand how they spend their time, right? So where do they go? What social sites are they using? What influencers do they listen to? What blogs are they reading? What route do they pass to work? Like, it sounds very stalkerish, but you want to really understand where they are spending their time, because this is going to help you understand which tactics are the right choices for you to start thinking of where you can intercept them with your messaging, right? You want to understand what marketing channels they are using. Are they on TikTok or more on Facebook or Instagram? Or is it more on, one of the other social sites? Or are they just not on social? Depending on the age group you are talking to, maybe they're not even on social. Is there an influencer that they're listening to regularly? And it might not be a really big one. It might just be one of these small niche ones, depending on your space. Do they pass a particular sort of roundabouts that has this billboard? Is there a particular mall they go to, right, which has like signage options? I really want you to dive deep into understanding like what's a typical day like, right, in any of the content consumers that you're going after. And you really want to just start to understand the options across their day where you have an opportunity to intercept them with your marketing message, for them to become aware of who your brand is, and for you to start to deliver, whatever strategy that you've decided that you want to fulfill. So that's the first thing. Understand what a day in their life looks like. The second thing is what I call a needs journey. Now, this is when you think about the process that your audience will usually go through when they have a problem when they have the problem that your brand solves. So for example, if your brand, you have a facial moisturizer for people that have dry, acne-prone skin, that's what you sell, that's what your product is. You have to understand, for someone who has that issue, when they're trying to find a solution for that issue, what do they do, right? Do they start by talking to friends, talking to families, like, I'm having these problems. Do you guys have options for things that can help? Are they asking people for options? Are they searching online for ideas? Do they go to a dermatologist? Maybe they're looking for an expert to help feed into the information that will help them make a decision on what to use. Or are they just listening to recommendations from some influencer, whether, somebody who is a beauty influencer that they follow? You really need to understand the process they go through. What's the sequence? Where did they start? How does that inform the next thing they do? This needs journey helps you uncover the best options for when they are actively looking for a particular solution. They're having that problem right now. They're actively looking for a solution. And these are the avenues they're using to sort of find solutions. You use that information to then decide, okay, if someone is reaching out to a dermatologist, for example, they have this issue, it's gotten really bad, they're going to go into the dermatologist's office to ask for some assistance and help and direction. Then should you be thinking about setting up partnership or relationships with particular dermatologists to say, oh, look, when you have patients coming in, talking to them about your brand, exposing them to your products, getting their sort of endorsement almost of what your products are, so that they can recommend your products to people that come in with these issues. These are the ways I want you to think about how you decide which tactics you should be considering using for your brand. So a lot of this information I've just talked about a lot of it is common sense, right? Especially if you think about yourself as the target audience. So, I'm a mom of two. I have a 3-year-old son. If I was selling, I don't know, kids' clothes as an example, I can picture, what I do when I'm trying to sort of find kids' clothes. So I can use myself as an example. So sometimes you can just use common sense information because you sort of know what your target audience will probably be looking at. You may not necessarily have to try to figure it out. But regardless, whether or not you're a target audience similar to what you're selling, or it's a completely, maybe you're talking with a smoker, like I worked in a smoking brand. I've never smoked in my life. I don't even know anything about it. We had to do research to understand what do smokers go through, what are their challenges, how do they deal with it, how do they solve the problem. So what I'm going to be asking you to do is you need to try to have conversations with your target audience, at least 3 to 5 people. And I'm not even saying, again, it's not a big brand. I'm not saying go talk to hundreds of people. You need just 3 to 5 people to help you inform the decisions that you're making when you're making choices, right? I want you to do one-on-one interviews with these people. Just ask them to describe a typical day, right, in their life, from when they wake up to when they go to bed. And as they're telling you that, probe to, and what I sort of walked through here in the screen is just like, questions you should answer and what you're looking to get as you're asking these questions. Then I also want you to ask them to walk you through what they do when they're looking for solutions to your problems. This is the needs journey part, right? Where did they start? Who do they ask? Who do they go to ask for help? Are they using search? Are they talking to experts? What's their process like? All of this, right, will help you come up with tactics that make more sense for your brands versus you just saying, you know what, I'm launching a brand today, I'm going to go on social and do ads, or I'm launching a brand today, I'm going to open up a social page and start posting organic content. A lot of people do that. And I'm not saying they don't work, but before you make those choices, be sure it's the right thing to do before you put the time, effort, and investment in that. And it may not be the absolute best place for you to be putting your efforts. So homework 2, I want you to use the questions and prompts I have here to interview at least 2 people in your target audience. And when you have those conversations, note down which marketing tactics could be good options for your brand. So that's homework 2. All right. Moving on to 3. And feel free to pause me if I tend to talk very fast when I'm excited. So, just slow me down if it's necessary. So next point is your budget, right? Now, of course, we would all love to have an unending pool of money. Well, we don't, unfortunately. We have to work with the budget that we have. And so this will ultimately guide your choices, right? You have to, if you think about it now, what we've just gone through, you probably will have a list of 5, 6, 7, bunch of tactics you could do. Especially after you've interviewed people in your audience, you've picked a couple. So I want you to pick the top 3 tactics for each strategy that you said you want to follow up on. that gives you the best opportunity to reach the largest number of people at a time in the most cost-effective way, right? But also gives you the best opportunity to get them, to convince them to purchase. Now, an example on that, you may have the option of doing I don't know, maybe like a trade show or something for your industry, depending on what you do. So you maybe can get a booth at one of the affairs, or you have the option of running ads on social, maybe on Instagram or something. Now, if you think about the math for both, maybe getting a booth may cost you, I don't know, $200, $500, thousands of dollars. It just depends on what it is. You have to pay to get materials to set up your booth, all of that. So maybe you're spending, I don't know, $1,000 to attend this fair. Forget transport, travel, all this other stuff. Now, depending on how many people are going to attend this fair, or how many people will actually be able to get to your booth, right? How many people will actually be able to come by you for you to be able to actually have conversations with them? Maybe max, if you're lucky, 50, 100 people, depending on how busy the conference is or event is, and how much traffic comes through, and how many people you can actually attract to your booth, depending on what you set up. So if you think about that, right, when you compare in total, maybe you're reaching, I don't know, 100 people, and maybe you can get a decent number of them to convert. Now, if you compare that to social media, right, and your option to run social media ads, you could probably reach up to, I don't know, 100,000 people on social media for a lot less. Maybe you can spend $50 and you reach 100,000 people on social, depending on what you're doing. So if you just do the math, you're like, oh my God, of course I'll use social. I'm going to go straight to social because it's so much cheaper to reach more people. Now, this is obviously why social media is so important. A lot of people use it because it's so cost efficient. You reach a lot more people for a lot cheaper than what you would require if you were doing some other tactics. But of course, the thing you have to consider as well is the capacity for you to convert someone. There's a lot of variables that go into making social media ads successful, right? Your messaging has to be right. You have to have a sequence. We'll talk about funnels in a little bit. But there's no guarantee that just because you're reaching 100,000 people, you're going to be able to convert up to 100 of them, depending on in a lot of factors. But if you have a booth, right, where you have you can have one-on-one conversations with people, maybe you have a much better opportunity. You may only reach 100 people, but maybe you have a lot better opportunity of converting maybe 90% of them because, you're a charismatic person. You can really talk about your products. They get to see it live. Maybe they can sample them. There's a lot stronger opportunity for you to get them to actually go ahead and purchase. So these are the things I just want you to factor when you're making decisions, right? So it's not one or the other, but I'm just saying, think through, what does my budget restrict me to do? What are the top 3 tactics that give me the best potential to reach the most number of people, but also gives me the best opportunity to convince them to actually purchase it? So think through those as factors when you're deciding which tactics to use to actually execute your marketing strategy. So homework 3, I want you to go through the list of tactics that you would have had now after you've talked to your audience, you've figured out which are the right options for you. And I say no more than 3 tactics per strategy, right? Because again, budget constraints, capacity to even implement them because of bandwidth. And it's the more you do, the tougher it is to do each of them well. So you want to pick the few ones you can really do and really do them well, right? So that really gives you the best chance for success. So that's your homework 3. You've gone through your list of tactics, narrowed down to the top 3 max that you would do for each strategy that you said you want to follow up on. 4th piece, which is going to be a critical part in making sure that these tactics work. So you've done all this work, you've picked tactics that you feel confident at the right choice. To make sure that they work, you now want to build funnels for each one, right? And most people know what funnels are, right? But simply put, they are, I see them as sort of the path I'm guiding consumers on to take the final action I want at the end of that path. So in the case of, and there's many funnels, there's lots of them, leads, there's a bunch of funnels. But in this case, I'm talking about tactic funnels. And it's the path that you're essentially saying, from the moment I implement that tactic till I get the consumer to purchase the brand, it's that path my consumer is going to go on that I'm trying to guide them along. And that's what I want you to build out for each tactic that you've selected. So really, I think when you think about tactic funnels, right, it really follows your consumer's purchase journey. And for most people who have had any exposure to marketing, you've heard about the consumer purchase journey. People start at awareness. They get to notice your brand, that it exists. It enters their consideration sets. That means it's now something they're saying, oh, this could be an option to solve this problem I have or this thing I'm trying to do. Till they finally go ahead and purchase it, right? They choose it as the option they're going to solve their problem and they purchase. And funnels are amazing because when you break down every step you want the consumers to go through when they are brought in by your tactic, you can track at which step you are losing your consumers in the process. Which step do they fall out of my funnel? And how do I pull them back into this funnel until I get them to actually purchase? And this is how you make sure your tactics work. You're going to map each action you're going to take to get your consumers to move from one phase in the purchase journey to the next, right? And this is what gives you the much higher chance to get them all the way to the purchase. So let me give you an example of that. So if you run an ad on social media, for example, right, you start off with whatever you're doing on social media, you're running an ad. That ad is going to drive your consumers to the landing page for your product. When they get there, right, there's two things that could happen. They could see the information, say, yay, amazing, I like this, I'm going to put it in my product in my cart, and then I'm going to check out, and it'll end with whatever, thank you email or whatever they get at the end. Great. That's the ideal scenario. Rarely ever happens, especially for new brands when consumers interact with something for the first time. More than likely, most times they'll go on the landing. If they click on the ad, if they think it's like, oh, the ad got them to notice it. It's like, oh, it's interesting. Okay, let me see what this is about. They clicked on it. They get to the landing page. More often than not, people don't go ahead and purchase the first time. They will just move on from that. They may not necessarily make the decision then. It's like, oh, I need more information, or they are thinking through in their minds other things that it's like, does this really work? Especially if it's new. Do I really need this now? They may leave. There's many reasons that a consumer could decide, I'm not going to purchase it right now. What does that mean? That consumer has fallen out of your purchase funnel, right? You haven't taken up consumer all the way to purchase. So what you need to do now is retarget. And anyone who's in marketing, you've heard about retargeting to death. There's a reason we talk about it a lot, because it's so important. That person who's interacted with your ad, saw it, didn't continue along the journey, you can retarget them addressing any objections you think they may have to what's preventing them from actually purchasing. Is it that maybe, they're not sure it's going to work? So, okay, you need to talk about, you need to give testimonials of people who have had great experiences with your product. Is it maybe, oh my God, it's too expensive now, they need something, a little bit of an incentive to get them to purchase, that's when you offer a discount? I don't know. Is it that they're like, maybe I'm still not convinced it to work. Maybe you need to offer them a free sample for them to try it. So many things you can think about, right? But these are things you would then retarget them with, right? And again, retargeting people once doesn't necessarily mean it will work. So in the case of this funnel, right, the way it works is they get to the landing page, they don't click through for whatever reason. Okay, you're going to retarget them with the testimonial ad. Let's see if we can convince them by somebody who's had a great experience that this is something that's right for them. If they decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to go back to the landing page. It's like, great, they see the information again. Maybe the information I have on my landing page is sufficient and I can get them back into my funnel, they add to cart and they take it all the way through. Amazing. But what happens if they don't click through, right? They're falling out again. You have another opportunity. It's like, okay, maybe I need to sweeten the pot a little bit. I need to give a bit of a discount to get them to try for the first time. I retarget them again with another testimonial ad and an incentive, a discount incentive. And of course, social media is great where you can really track who's doing what when and know what information you're messaging, you're sending, the retargeting them with. And so maybe, you're finally able to, with that discount of focus, like, okay, great. They come back to your landing page. They decide, okay, this time I'm going to buy. They put it in the cart. But how many of us we're shopping on Amazon or doing whatever. You put it in the cart, somebody called you, like my son is screaming now, and I'm like, shit, I need to go do that. I'll drop my phone and go and do that. I didn't purchase, right? And I've forgotten about what I'm doing. I've moved on to other things. You've lost that consumer again. You've lost that purchase. That's why you hear a lot of people talking about, the abandoned carts email sequences. It's just because of trying to ensure you're putting an action that's getting your consumer back into that funnel to get them to make that purchase, right? So it's so critical, especially if you have any e-commerce, anything, to have an abandoned cart email sequence. People will forget because life happens. They may say they want to buy, they are ready to do it. Something happens, they don't do it. You want to remind them. Sometimes they may even put it in the cart. It's like, do I really need this thing? No, I'm going to walk away. So sometimes you even see abandoned cart emails that have discount incentives in there to get you to just make that final decision and go ahead and purchase. So again, this is something else that can bring you back into your funnel. And that's essentially what gets they get that consumer to click through, check out, and get all the way. So if you think about this, right, when I was talking about the purchase journey, this really is just following that, right? When they see your ad, they notice your brand is interesting enough for them to want to find out more. They click through, that's awareness, right? That's the awareness stage. When they click through, but they don't buy, and you have to retarget them and bring them back to your landing page, right? That's in the consideration phase. You're doing more things to get them to say, this brand is something that I want to use. as to solve this problem that I have. When they finally add it to the cart, right? It means they've said, yes, I'm going to buy this. You've convinced them. But you can see, like I said, even there's a possibility that they don't complete the purchase for whatever reason. And so you want to make sure that you really have a clear funnel mapped out that shows you where are these gaps, where may my consumer fall out, and what action can I take to ensure that I can bring them back into the funnel and get them to complete it. So your final homework is to build funnels for each of the tactics that you've selected to execute your marketing strategy. And so I'll recap and mention one other thing. These are the 4 actions that I want you to take to really help you pick the right marketing tactics and ensure that they work. The first one is being clear on your strategy, and you know what homework you have there. Write down the behaviors you want your target audience to take to help you inform the strategy that you want to move forward with. Second one is to really understand your consumers, right? I want you to interview at least 2 people from your target audience to understand what their needs, journeys are, and a day in the life looks like. 3, use your budget as a filter. Use it to help you decide amongst the tactic options that you have. Pick the top 3 for each tactic, each strategy that you want to execute. And finally, build out your funnels, right? Build out your funnels and make sure you have a funnel for each tactic that you've selected, because that will show you where your gaps exist. What I've done actually, because I know funnels, obviously for me, are very super intuitive because I do this every day and I'm thinking about it all the time. But I know sometimes people find it hard to think through the steps, and templates tend to help. So what I've actually done is I created a bunch of templates for things like, if you're using organic marketing, what does a funnel look like there? If you're using social ads, what does that look like? If you're offering like freebies or samples or stuff like that, what does that look like? Just to help you have almost like a template to start to build what your funnels look like. And that's something that is available to everybody. I'll put it in the chat, and you guys just need to click on it and download it, and you can use it to start building funnels that you will use for your tactics. I'll put that in the chat. All right. Last thing before I stop talking, and I need water because I'm thirsty now. I wanted to share how you could get my marketing expertise to work with you on your product or brands. Of course, like I said, I created a brand marketing firm with the intention of helping entrepreneurs. And whether you are developing a launch, you're creating your marketing strategy or plan, you're getting ready to plan for 2024, really I can help with my one-on-one coaching, which is a done with you program that's customized to help with what you need. I can help you with doing that. So I'll work with you to create and help you implement your plan. There's a ton of things I include. Faith has worked with me in the past, so she can tell you some of the things that I have. But essentially the way these work typically is they are for a 3-month period. And that's really because anything you do in marketing, there's the time required to think through your planning, there's implementing it, and then there's adjusting and optimizing, right? So you've done all this great work, but when you start, you'll still see that you have to sort of test and learn your way through which messages are working, which ones are not. Okay, I picked 3 tactics. This one is doing great. This one is like so I can drop this. Let me invest my money in this. There's all these things you have to sort of do to sort of learn and optimize. And so usually, and I was working with the clients, it took us 3 months for us to get to a system that we felt like, yes, it's working. We have the right type of messaging. We figured out the right sort of tactics that are now really driving the results that she wants. And so I like to give people a 3-month window to say, let's have a plan. Let's start to implement and see learnings. How do we optimize? And then we can use that to say, okay, we feel like we have a good system that's working, and then move forward from there. Obviously, as I still do my 9-to-5s. There's tons still going on in my life. So really, for me, I think I have 2 spots left for the rest of the year, and starting in October. I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew, and I'm in the WhatsApp group, so please feel free to DM me if you have questions. I'm always happy to answer, or send me an email if you want to find out more. But I wanted you guys to know what was possible and how you could work with me for stuff that you're doing with your brands. And I will stop there. And that's what I have for you guys today.
Thank you so much. Wow. I don't know if anybody else had full notes, but I did. But sometimes when you're hearing this and you're writing in real time, those ideas will not fly off your head after the session is over. So thank you so much. And we're going to go through the chat box to see if there are any questions. And if you have any questions and you want to unmute yourself, please feel free. Okay, so everyone is asking. I see people are asking for templates. So I know Obehi said she was going to drop the link, right?
Yes, I will. I'll let me put that in the chat. Hold on, let me get it now and put it in the chat.
Okay.
And yes, I can share the slides. I will. I just saw a question there. Hold on, let me go back up.
Okay.
Oh, let me get the link.
If it helps, Obehi, do you want me to read the questions out?
Yes, actually, because I want to get the link so that I can post it so the guys can get the tactic for those templates. But yes, please read out the questions. That would help. Thank you.
All right. So I've got. Are there any sites or tools that you can recommend where we can access consumer research without paying high fees?
There's a couple. And hold on. This thing always throws me off, and I can't concentrate because I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. Okay, I just posted the link in the chat.
Okay.
But yeah, no. I can focus now. So yes, there are a couple. So it depends on, and I think it depends on what kind of research, right? So there are sites like Mintel, Euromonitor, a bunch of sites that have these big paper research companies that they just document reports. They've done research on particular industries, particular things, and they just put these research papers up for people to purchase and buy, depending on what you want. And they can range from, I don't know, $200 all the way to, I don't know, $1,000. Depends on how big or robust the research is. Those are useful if you are, it really depends on your industry, right? It really depends on where you are trying to enter. For the most part, what I found to be most useful, just talk to people. If you know what you're trying to do, find, someone was saying they're into the bridal business, and I wasn't sure if that meant they offered bridal dresses, makeup, when you say bridal, I said big category. So depending on what you're doing, find people who would be interested in your services and ask them questions, right? These one-on-one interviews I talk about, it's so, you'll be surprised how much information you can learn just by having 30-minute conversations with people, asking them questions. And most people, if you buy them a cup of coffee, they're happy to talk to you for 30 minutes. It's such a simple thing to do, but most people find it quite challenging. So that's one. There's another site that I found that, because I think my challenge was when I'm trying to talk to a target audience that is not in my immediate circle. It's not people that I know. It's not people that I interact with. It can be difficult to find. And people will tell you, you can do Facebook groups on those topics. This can be useful, but it can be challenging sometimes. Well, that's another useful resource. You can actually go on Reddit and just scan forums for things that you're looking for to find information. Go and look at reviews on competitor websites and product pages to see what issues people are having. It's very super useful information. If you already have products, your reviews are amazing to help you, even the bad ones, to help you know what's working, what's not working. And then there's another site I use. It's called Pickful, and I can put it in the chat. And that's a site where you can actually post surveys. They actually have an audience of different consumers that they've gathered across different things. There's you can have filters, and it's not super expensive. You can run a survey for $200, and you can reach 50 people with a bunch of questions you have. That's where if you have messaging, you're trying to test messaging, and you're not sure which one is right, you can post it there and get people to give you feedback on them, and they'll tell you which resonates better depending on your audience. So there's a couple of options that you don't have to spend ridiculous money, but of course, I think the most valuable, usually, depending on what you're doing, is when you have one-on-one interviews with people.
Yeah, amazing. And I think in the UK, all those reports, you can also access them from the Business and IP Center at the National Library.
Oh, see? Amazing. Amazing.
The US and Canada, but yeah.
I don't know if they do that in the US. Although in the US, if you are in school, if you're going to grad school or uni or whatever, usually you have free access to Euromonitor, Mintel, all these sites for research. So anyone who is back in school or whatever, that's another avenue. If you don't want to you won't have to pay for a lot of the reports. You can get access to them for free if you're going through, if you have a university email, they give you access to those as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next question is, I think you've answered this. I think this is on your site. Is there a system that helps you automate the funnel?
Yes, so it depends on what your funnel is. So there's a lot more technical parts to funnels that some people do. There's some people that all they do is just help you set up funnels, pushing, this triggers this message, this triggers that. That's not, I'm not that, I don't do that unless I want to work with a professional to do that. What I'm thinking is like for ads, especially if you're doing ads, you just know how to set up your campaigns where you have your awareness campaign, you have your retargeting campaign. So automatically you've pulled people into buckets as things are happening to make sure that you're retargeting them with the specific messaging that you want. And then of course as you're pulling people in, you're pulling people right into email lists, potentially, depending on how you are gathering information. Whether it's like you're offering on your site, and most people do this, you see everybody who shops sees this. You go on any website, they're like, oh, get 10% off by signing up to our email for your first purchase or whatever. They're just doing that to build their email list because they want to make sure that they have people sitting in their overall groups that they can continue to sort of reach out to and market to. So that's another, depending on what you're offering, always be thinking about ways of how you can be getting people's useful contact information in the right way, and that will help have the email list that you then use to build out these funnels. So for example, we talked about the abandoned cart piece emails. If you're using Shopify as a website, as a platform, Shopify automatically has a way for you to set that up in the system. So, depending on your product landing pages, you can set up an abandoned cart email sequence already built into Shopify for you. So it's a lot simpler. Or if you have any of these email
like MailChimp,
it's like MailChimp, or I use a different one, but there's like Kartra, there's a bunch of others. All of them, you can automate your funnels, all of them. So it just depends. The reason why I say sometimes it's challenging is because your funnel varies depending on what you're doing. So if I think of I use Tatcha. It's a skincare brand in the US. Their main funnels really, they advertise but not a lot, but their main funnels really are their samples and emails. That's literally what they spend. That's what they do. Every time you purchase this, as you purchase, they're sending you with 3 samples of any products you want, because all they are thinking about is how can I upsell them to something else or expand their purchases by getting you to experience new things that they offer. And then they follow up with sort of emails tied to sort of things that you've tried and the new things that they're introducing. It's a simple funnel, but that simple sequence for them, I can't tell you how many new things I've had to buy because I'm like, oh, I got the sample. I was like, oh, I need this eye cream now instead because I tried the sample. And I'm the kind of person that I will never buy anything, especially my skin, because I have sensitive skin, that I haven't tried before. And I know that it works on my skin before I invest money in it. So for that sort of brand, samples make a ton of sense. So again, you just have to think about which tactics make sense depending on what I'm trying to do. Depends on my brand, depends on my audience. And then you can then build funnels around that. But you can find people who will automate your entire funnel for you. They will set up, there's things like you can use with like Zapier that can connect systems, things will be triggered. There's a lot of things you could do. But if you're not, ready to invest in hiring a funnel expert, you can create simple funnels for yourselves using tools that we already have today.
Amazing, thank you. Another one from Obehi Aisha, asking for the slides.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll probably send it to Faith after I'm done. And then we can have them shared out with the team, with everybody on the call. I can do that.
Okay, cool.
So okay.
I think I've run through the questions. In terms of the session, I think all that information is on your website. I think we've got a question asking.
The information on one-on-one sessions on my site, just DM me and I'll follow up and give you guys more details.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So any more questions? Faith, I think you had a question about that brand that that new brand that somebody wanted to launch, the new gymwear brand that somebody wanted to launch.
why are you putting me on the spot?
Yes, Faith, you should tell people it's gonna be exciting.
That
Yeah.
person, yeah.
That person.
Those baby steps. I think you were asking about, if Obehi could give us the in terms of launching the brand, what are the first steps that person should
Yeah,
take?
so the question is, if someone doesn't have a lot of budget, right? You don't have a lot to spend and you want to, you're trying to disrupt the market. So what would be the best way to have a strong messaging that will stop people on their tracks, knowing fully well that this industry is very competitive. You're coming in as an outsider and you're coming to disrupt. So A, you're solving a problem. B, you're presenting a problem that some people don't realize is a problem. So how do you effectively communicate that message with the least amount of resources?
Yeah, it's always the resource is always the challenge. But I think the two things I found is if you have a compelling solution, like sometimes you've seen products that they don't even market at all. It's just such a good solution that word of mouth was all people needed to get to hear about it because it was just such a good solution. All you need is a sort of an initial kernel of awareness and it spreads because the product is so good. So, in what you're describing, it really just depends. And, you said two things. You said one, it's a problem people don't know they have, right? That's a whole other thing. If it's a problem people don't know they have, you have to first of all make them realize they have this problem before you can present the solution for it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And then the second one you said is that, it's a competitive environment. And most places are. But the best way to disrupt competitive environments is to do things that are completely counter to what is the norm in that space. So, for example, if you're talking now, if I'm assuming we're talking about FitSave, the category is very much known for athleisure category as a category. As someone who provides athleisure category, it's more about how it looks. Not necessarily, it's really about how it looks and how it works from an exercise perspective. Like, is it breathable? What's the type of material? Those are the things that they tend to talk about. But the main thing, the first thing is, how does it look? Does it look good? Do I look good in it? That's really the sort of, picture that's portrayed. If you are instead focusing on look, those are in this space, that's almost like what do you call it? There's a term for it, but essentially it's like, for you to even be able to compete in this space, you have to have that as a minimum. It's the minimum requirements to compete in this space. It must look good. Like, so you talking about it is just like it's like someone saying that you're selling me toothpaste, but the toothpaste doesn't clean teeth. Like, it's an expectation. I'm expecting it. It's athleisure where it must look good. What you now want to do is talk about what is so different and unique about it. And I think FitSafe's route in was all about safety, not having to compromise safety because you want to sort of maintain your health, right? So how do you really bring to life this problem that is it's not even that people don't know they have the problem, but it's a subconscious thought. It's there. There's no woman who goes out who's like, may somebody not come and talk to me, or reach me. There's a subconscious thought of like safety. Usually it may not be in the forefront if you haven't an experience, but it's there. How do you bring it to the forefront? And that the best way to do that usually is visually. How do you visually showcase a situation? And this is where you can have like it could be very interesting to do. I'm picturing in my mind sort of a really strong visual translation of what a scenario is. And it could just be like depicting a scenario. And I hate to lead with fear, but sometimes you want to show this is what could happen. This is what you're worried could happen. Mm-hmm. How do you prepare yourself so that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Or so there are ways you can think about it. Or you could have a really interesting relationship with a particular relevant influencer, especially someone who really believes in what you're doing, who really buys into the offering. And that person could be sort of the lead. And obviously I'm not saying go to like a Dale Earnhardt Jr. that you're going to be paying millions of dollars to know. But like there will be people who are so passionate about this particular issue that when you reach out to them about it, they are more than willing to partner, not because of the money, but because they believe so strongly in what it is that you're doing. So anyway, just some thoughts for you to think about, but that could be some of the ways that you approach it.
Thank you so much. That's how you get a free master class session on your problems. So guys, just feel free. I mean, if you have a specific question you want to ask that pertains to your business, you can go ahead and ask the question. But if there is none, then we can start wrapping this up. Bumi, you wanted to say something?
It's just been an amazing session. You know, you hear these things, you know, in a lot of places, but the way Obehi has sort of broken it down,
Yes.
you know, I think it's got me thinking. There's the part about making sure we do our math, because I've been, you know, to a number of these trade shows, where there's so much effort. There's the transport, there's the expenses, there's your own time, your precious time, and then how you spent, you know, getting a booth there, right? And then when you compare that to how much you're spending, you know, on social media, right? I mean, imagine spending thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds in social media. The amount of customer
returns you could get. Yes, absolutely.
So I just started thinking,
and it depends, right? So if you have a brand that's all about the experience it delivers, I'm thinking of, like, you know, whether it's a spa or something that it's all about the experience. Then it may make sense to do something physical. It might, right? Because you really want people to experience it, and it's tough to do that in social unless you have ways in a funnel with social that's driving them to a physical experience. But a lot of the time when you do math, you're like, and I had a client who was like, oh, it's like, oh, I wanted to work with like an influencer of Bella Niger versus like social, and it's like, okay, it's worth testing things once to see if they work, because sometimes you may get so much traction that it's worth it. But most times you find, especially things that require a lot of upfront investment and effort, if you're not already super clear on your messaging and know that the messaging resonates, if you're not already super clear on like what incentive will get people to do what you need them to do, it can be tough to have it pay out and get the return on investment that you are looking for, versus on social where you have or even search. I'm saying using social, but social is such a, you know, there's also search. There's search advertising that can be very lucrative depending on what your business is. Or even organic, but that's, you know, just depends on your business and the funnel that you've created. But I think what I want to just leave people with is, please don't just default to everybody. You know, I start a business, I have a social page, I start posting organic content, and I, you know, because that's it, a lot of people just like, you know, that's the default, and I understand why. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying, just think first and make sure, like, is that right? You know, imagine if you're, you know, dealing with, you know, the elderly. It's like, maybe a social media doesn't work. Maybe it's more like you need a WhatsApp group and making stuff up, because that's where they're spending all their time, and they're not really, you know, doing stuff on social. So you just really have to like think through that, because that just makes you spend your time and resource in the most efficient way. And we're all busy. We all don't have time, and we all don't have all the money we want. So we want to get the max out of it as possible.
And I just wanted to add that attending trade shows or pop-ups is a great way to get in front of your customers, because you start hearing things, you start hearing phrases that you can include in your product descriptions. I'll give you an example. Like, I made my first sale at one of those fashion shows, and the lady said it was something that I said. And of course, I took that phrase and put it, you know, I'm going to put it on my website, because that was what did it for her. Now, she's not like my target audience, because, you know, I'm targeting people that love the outdoors, you know, walking, hiking, running. But she rides a bike, but she said there was something that I said that attracted her. You know, that was the reason why she bought the product. So I think, you know, if you're finding it difficult to talk to your consumers or people in your target audience space, try and attend fashion shows or trade shows or whatever applies to your industry. Like for the person that said she's into bridal, there's a lot of bridal shows, especially in this season. You know, they're going to be doing a lot of, so try and put yourself out there. You start meeting people in your industry, you start understanding the language, you know, and start getting to hear firsthand from your customers what people are looking for.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll say about trade shows is, and things like that, if you are interested in your product getting on a retailer's shelves, so, you know, you're interested in and I think we're talking about it, someone was talking about in the last session, a lot of retailers, it's because they're looking for indie niche specialized brands. I don't know if everyone's noticed, but if you go to any, Walmart, all the big brands, they all have this like little section now that's like, multicultural, like hair stuff. Like they have all these like niche brands. Target is also great at just like bringing in niche brands into their retailers. They go to all these trade shows and things to look for the new upcoming brands that are interesting. So again, I'm not saying these things don't matter, but I'm just asking you to really think through. If your strategy is, my goal is to get into big box retailers because that's where I want to expand my distribution. I've proven that this product works. This is great. It has some great reviews. I've seen some great traction. I'm looking to scale. That might be your avenue than saying, I'm going directly to a Walmart or a whoever and trying to pitch to get it in versus like, I'm at a trade show, I'm showcasing what my products are, I'm talking about the experience, and I know that you will have executives from Walmart and what have you walking these floors because they're looking for things for their stores. Again, just think through what you're trying to do, and then that should help you make the right choices when you're picking tactics to execute your strategy.
Bring them, and then linking it back to your strategy. So it's not really okay.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks. Does anybody else?
Someone just posted that they're having difficulty checking with the templates. I'll check it and make sure there's no issues. And I will make sure I put it in the group so that everybody has it. But I'll triple check if there's anything wrong, and I'll make sure you guys have it.
Yeah. Anyone else in any other industry wants to just quickly talk whilst we're on the call? Apologies, this has run over, but does anybody else have any specific issues they want to quickly raise or just talk about, what they're dealing with?
So, a quick question. You did mention that like if you're in an industry that's known for a particular set of methods, that you could actually, go out of the how will I put it? Like think out of the box in marketing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know they usually will say that common sense usually should apply in most things, but to a man who only has an hammer, every approach will probably look like a nail. So I'm thinking, is there like any rule book, so to say, as to where one can consult to like guide marketing ideas? Because I mean, right now, I want to market my product and I'm thinking, let me go with the high-vis vest that the Lost Chosen people used to wear in Lagos. Let me distribute it to a few friends and let's all start parading the streets with all of that. But then that may just be to the extreme, So is there like a book or a resource where one can get marketing ideas? I know you've given us tons and tons of tactics to use, but where else can we, consult to get those ideas, like to reach target audiences? Say if you want to reach out to nursing mothers, you want to reach out to the senior citizens, are there like resources that we can consult for that? Thanks.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of great marketing books, and I can share a few. But most of them are not industry specific, right? They will be talking about principles overall and giving examples of things that have happened. I think I would suggest, if you are trying to figure out, is there some difference here of an approach that I can take that I'm not necessarily thinking about, I would say start by talking to the people that you are trying to reach. So if you are interested in reaching nursing homes, the elderly, what have you, I think obviously it depends on what you're trying to do. But I would say make the effort of having some conversations with those people, right? To understand what it is that they need, because that's where you'll find the most opportunities for how can I think differently about what everybody else is doing in this space that's a bit, almost tangential, but it actually is disruptive because it's very different. A good example, everybody now talks about Uber like it's a second thought, right? It's like, it's a second thought now. But when Uber came, it was just completely counter any thought process of like how you think about taxi. It just was, no one ever considered it just because Uber had a technology that figured it out. And it's the same thing. There's a brand in the health and wellness space. It's called Oli. I don't know if it's in other countries, but in the US there's a brand called Oli. It's a vitamin brand. Their only disruption was their format. They just said they were going to launch only gummies for everything they offered. So they have gummies, sleep medicines, gummies, vitamin C. This is like, it's not rocket science. Like it's offering the same thing everybody else offers, but they just offered it said, we are only going to offer things that are delicious. for you to take your products in. And that's how they are. And they're now everywhere. It's like, this was like 3 years ago. And I was like, what is happening? And you just look at Ollie is everywhere now because they just said, I'm going to go. And what other manufacturers are doing in this space is they offer like tablets, capsules, because gummies are a bit difficult to manufacture. But Ollie said, no, my own disruption is I'm going to make sure that everything I offer is delicious. And that's why they've picked a format. So I guess what I'm saying, Samuel, is there isn't necessarily a guidebook on that. It's more the principles about the thinking. And I'll share some marketing books that I think will be helpful as you think about it. But really, the first place to start is the people that you're trying to reach. Again, nursing homes, my first thought is like, oh, who are the administrators? How do people? I need a lot more information to like help guide that. But like I'm already thinking about, well, how would you go about figuring out how you reach them? Is it the administrators? Is it a relationship they have with NGOs? I don't know. I'm making stuff up. But like there's just so many ways you can think about, oh, who are the people that reach nursing homes? What do they reach them? What do they reach them for? What are the partnerships I can have? All of that. But you need to have a first, again, talk to the audience that you want to. You learn so much. And then that can be a good starting point for you to say, okay, I can build off of that to come up with alternative ways in. Hopefully that's helpful. But DM me or shoot me a note on WhatsApp. I'm happy to help with some of that thinking if you want.
Thanks.
All right. Any more? All right. I'll just hand over back to Faith.
Thank you so much, Obehi. This was a very, very insightful session. I'm going to go back and rewatch and go through the homework sessions again. Thank you for gracing us, and all of you, thank you so much for staying through. I see a lot of you are still here. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us. We're going to go ahead and pray and close this session. So I'm going to call on Samuel to give us one of his powerful prayers and close the session. Samuel, you are still on mute. Are you speaking?
No, sorry about that. I just came in. I just have to step out. So let us pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we are grateful for this session. We thank you for all the insight provided. We thank you for the skills that have been exposed to us. We thank you for the speaker. We thank you for every facilitator that has contributed to tonight's event. Father, we pray in the name of Jesus that the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding that we receive today will be permanent in our lives and experiences in the name of Jesus. Father, we ask that the businesses that we all represent, the endeavors that we all aspire to be great and to reach out to the target audiences. Father, we pray in the name of Jesus that the right skills to use, you will open our eyes to it and we will be able to disperse these tools in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, we ask for speed, we ask for increase, we ask for abundance in all that we do, and we thank you because we've asked in the mighty name of Jesus, and we know that our prayers are answered today. In Jesus Christ's mighty name, we have prayed. Amen.
And thank you so much for tuning in. Our session is over. I'm going to share the templates and slides once I get them from Obehi. Thank you.
Thank you, Obehi. Thanks, Faith.
Thank you.
Guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.